Hey up. Moving to the 80s this episode for a film that I've been quite intrigued about re-watching. We're taking a look at Strange Behaviour, also known as Dead Kids, Small Town Massacre and Human Experiments. This is a 1981 UK, Australia and New Zealand slasher horror film directed by Michael Laughlin, who hasn't done a bunch of stuff. He's done two other films, Strange Invaders and Mesmerize, I think. This is his directorial debut and his most well received. It looks like his stuff generally got worse, unfortunately. The film has a few names attached to it. There's a few people in this. Michael Murphy, who's been in over 100 films. A few that stood out to me though, he was in Woody Allen's Manhattan and Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia. Not bad, interesting. We also get a role from Louise Fletcher, who is most famous for playing Nurse Ratchet in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Then there is also Dan Shaw, I believe his name is, who was in Tron and Bill and Ted. And lastly, we get a bit part cameo from the writer and producer of this film, Bill Condon. Now, he later went on to be quite a successful director. A few of his things from recent years, he directed some of the Twilight films and that most recent live-action Disney's Beauty and the Beast film. So, there's a few people in this, which is saying something compared to some of the shit we've watched recently. Like, there's not been a lot of big names in these, and there's a few that pop up in this. That might be a good thing, I'm not entirely sure. This is one that I had as a teenager. This is the DVD. This is the exact DVD I had as a kid, and I bought it, probably watched it that night, and don't remember a single thing about it at all. So let's see if it's any good.
For you to stick around. Every boy wants a girl he can trust to the very.
Yeah, you sure? You're slipping around again, aren't you? You got a new girl I don't know about, huh?
No.
You do, don't you?
No.
You little fart. Are you holding out on me again?
The plot follows Pete Brady, who's struggling to pay for his college application. So, based on a friend's recommendation, he signs up to some experimental drug trials that are happening at a local college. The group doing these trials, though, have a bit of a history with the town, and specifically with Pete's family. Teenagers start killing people, and there may be some link, so it's up to Pete's cop dad, John, to try and figure out what's going on and help his son before things get completely out of hand. I quite like this one. It's not too bad. It does suffer from its pacing every now and then, specifically when characters are moving from one location to another. It kinda takes a little too long, but it's pretty entertaining, decent story, and it's got that sort of cosy small town vibe, which is something I always really enjoy.
You have to do that at the table.
It's gotta be done. One of life's little chores, you know.
Lucy Brown gets around. She's only 13, for Christ's sakes. No problem there. Ollie, you've got a very sick mind.
You know, a nice little ass here, a little tit over there.
The acting in this varies. When it's good, it's probably some of the best acting that we've seen in this collection so far, especially from the named actors. But when it's not good, it's just kinda a bit off, a bit amateur-y, I guess. The characters are quite good as well. Maybe some of them are a little two-dimensional, but they're hard to dislike. They've got a bit more personality behind them, which is always a nice thing. The gore, it's not really the focus of this film, but there are a few standout moments. The main one being the needle in the eye scene. That one was pretty effective. And then there's the hand in the sink and the wrist cutting scene. Again, they just stood out as being pretty decent. The rest of the stuff that we get is mainly just brief stabbings though. The setting for this I really like, that sort of small town America vibe, even though it was shot in New Zealand. There's some specific locations that really stood out to me, like the pink diner, almost a bit Lynchian, very 50s Americana. And some of the interiors for the houses with the constantly repeating wallpaper. It's just a cool place to be, it's somewhere where you kind of want to hang out. And then into the more sci-fi sets you've got the spiky wall, which I really liked, and then what looks like piles of cardboard, which I'm guessing is meant to be sort of like sci-fi or like high-tech soundproofing, but it just looks like piles of card. Again, it's very 50s sci-fi. Kind of reminded me of like Ed Wood, who will come back up later, funnily enough. So the killer, there isn't just one killer in this, there's a few. There's a few of the teenagers, and it's not shy about showing who is doing the killings, which I quite liked. It mixed it up a little bit from there just being one dude stalking a group around for the entire film. I liked it, a change of pace. It's a relatively well put together thing, this. There's the odd weird edit and the odd funny angle, but it's fine for the most part, competently made I'd say. And it's got a great score by Tangerine Dream, can't really go wrong there. And then any other bits of songs in there were just sort of like cheesy 80s songs, which they're hard to dislike those.
An A with my name on it.
Well, maybe he got his mother to stay home last night and help him.
Trees are already down on the Cullum Avenue way. I guess you could say it's real dangerous. Woo, out there tonight, so watch out.
This film is classed as a video nasty, being part of the Section 3 list, which means it wasn't prosecuted, but if found, it could be seized and confiscated. I'm quite surprised, to be honest, because this is definitely the tamest video nasty we've covered on the channel. Not really much happens, there's a bit of gore I guess, but I think the main reason that it was added to the list was because of its alternate name, Dead Kids. You see that on a shelf, on a VHS, and I'm guessing that they just sort of panicked and went, we can't be selling a film called Dead Kids. So yeah, it was added to the list. As a result, about 27 seconds were cut, and it is the detailing of the wrist cutting scene towards the end. And it's kind of noticeable when you're watching that scene, to be honest. You can see that stuff's been edited out. So this is also classed as an Ozploitation, being made partly by Australia, shot in New Zealand. Falls under that Ozploitation bracket, even though it doesn't really feel very Ozploitation-y. It's probably the least Australian feeling of the three that we've covered in this review series. The other two being Thirst and Turkey Shoot, which there'll be links up at the top, I'm sure. So you can watch those if you've not seen those. I would put this one in between Turkey Shoot and Thirst. Thirst is definitely the standout. While Turkey Shoot did some stuff I did like, I think this one just goes over it a little bit. And this is apparently the first horror film to be shot in New Zealand. Don't know how true that is. If it is true, that's pretty cool though. So now it's time to talk about the first killer's mask. I think is definitely something worth bringing up here. It's on the promotional art, it was all over the marketing for this film. And that mask is a Tor Johnson mask from his infamous role in Plan 9 from Outer Space, directed by Ed Wood, back again. I'm guessing that they did this because I think they were trying to do the sort of Shatner mask thing that Halloween did. They don't really use it as much as I would have liked, to be honest. He's just one of a few, and he's like the first one. But it's cool. It's quite effective, that mask as well. It's kind of uncanny. I liked the inclusion of it. Lastly, this was supposed to be the first part of a trilogy. The second part was made, I don't know how much of it actually follows on or anything like that, called Strange Invaders that I mentioned at the beginning. Never heard of it, never seen it. If anybody has seen it, let me know in the comments, tell me how it is, tell me if it's any good. But yeah, the third part, never made, unfortunately.
Well, there they are, 2,000 girls. May I ask what you're going to do with them?
We're going to find the fat ones.
Okay, time for the print, and it's pretty good, to be honest. It's fully widescreen, clear visuals, nice colours. There's the odd little bit of sort of dirt on the film stock, but it's not awful. Yeah, pretty impressive. What's not impressive though is the sound on this thing. It is super compressed and distorted, so it completely ruins any sort of music, which is a shame because it's the Tangerine Dream sort of soundtrack and the campy 80s music. Butchers most of that, and whenever someone's talking a little loud or shouting, it completely muffles it. It's a shame because when I started this and I saw the visuals, I thought, oh wow, they've actually done a good print. And then someone opened their mouths. There's always bloody summer, isn't there, with these? And on the disc, we get the usual stuff. Chapter select, trailer for this, Hard Gore trailers, and there's also a written interview with Bill Condon. Not much.
You eat just rats in the icebox. All those kids ever eat are...
Right then, let's look at this case. I like the front cover quite a lot. The font is great, and the image I always found quite intriguing. It always drew me in as a kid. The back seems pretty decent too. There is a comma after investigating that seems a little out of place, but outside of that, the blurb reads fine. Runtime's off by about 5 minutes. The film's actually 94 minutes long, so that's not great. But yeah, outside of that, it's pretty good. I like the screenshots, and it's just got a lot more life and energy to it compared to some of the other cases we've seen. Lastly, this is another release with the catalogue printed on the inside. I was staring at this for a little while, and I suddenly realised that we've discussed all the films outside of the also available ones at the bottom that are listed here. That's crazy. Overall then, while it's not a perfect film, a bit slow and kind of its time, there's a lot to like here. The characters, the story, the setting are all things that just sort of worked for me. It's kind of like a tamer, less crazy version of Society, maybe. I'd recommend this. I'd say this is probably worth a look. It shouldn't be high up on your watch list by any means, but there's definitely a time and a place for this film. Either that, or I'm just glad to not be watching some piece of shit Millennium trash again. Who knows? Either way, I did get something from this. I did enjoy it. If you're in the market for another version of this version is ruined by its sound, unfortunately. There's a few more DVD releases, there's a Street Collection and a few more UK DVDs. I can't speak for the quality of those. But then there's also some Blu-rays, both imports unfortunately, but it's part of Umbrella's Ozploitation collection, and Severin have also put it out as well. So if you don't mind spending a little extra, I'm guessing that they've probably done this quite a bit of justice, and it's probably uncut as well, which is always nice. So, another decent one. That's 2 in a row. Can we get the hat-trick? Well, possibly. Because next episode, we're checking out another Ozploitation film, and a film that I've been dying to watch for a while. Something that quite a few of the commenters have mentioned that they're looking forward to as well. So, let's see if it's any good. Next episode, we're going to be checking out Patrick.